Hello people, we are back again. This is a Gen Z conversation continuing. Tuliwaambia we'll come back with some hot conversations again, and we are back. This is the Chat Away podcast, and we are great storytellers, just bringing stories out, just uncensored, ikiwa fun, just the way venye iko in all its fullness. So today tuko wengi, we have a couple of we have a generation ya millennials in place, na we have us watu wa miondoko. So we'll start with a round of introduction, ndio mjue nani tunafanya conversation now, but I think they are familiar voices you've heard from the previous podcast, so tunaendelea tu conversation. Tuanze na this time tuanze na millennials, the opinionated people.
Yes.
And then now we come to us who are the special people for the conversation.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Mko fiti bwana asifiwe. Wherever you are listening to us from. This is Brayo yule wa kanisa. Good to be in this episode.
Mimi naitwa Javier from the millennial side.
David, Gen Z.
Praise Gen Z.
Honest Gen Z.
Na mimi JT. Gen Z. Sisi ndo wale watu wa podcasts wengi. That's the content we consume sana on social media. So this time tunataka to discuss just an overview of what we'll discuss today. Gen Z, social media, Gen Z and the relations and work, and as well the interrelations between the millennials and us, the Generation Z, and us and the next Generation Alpha. So we'll kickstart right into it. So last time we discussed to pinpoint Generation Z. We are that generation that has many options when it comes to social media sites.
Yeah.
Whereby ukitaka opinions tulisema tunaenda wapi?
Twitter.
Anga hapo ni anga. Hapo ni
The bad app. It can be bad, but it is a bad.
Tukitaka kuwa short and precise bado ni Twitter. The short texts.
Yes. Threads.
And then kuna wale watu wa images and pictures wenye wapendi kuongea, the flashy life.
Instagram. Drip is for
Na sisi ni generation tumesema we like the comment more than the content.
Yeah.
Comment before content, and then tunakuja tulikuwa tunaongelea nini by the way. After you've already umetoanisha mzee na chat yake hapo, because we have all information, so nataka kuonyesha you're that generation that knows all. So we'll start with the benefits of social media, because we are the generation that has been born into the digital space. Google business, Google history ads on the social media sites. We are the ones that are tunawak sana kukuwa influencers on the social media platform. So what are some of these benefits that we get as Generation Z from social media? Maybe we can start with Praise.
Right. Some of the benefits that we get in social media is when it comes to information, the positive side of information. And for example, like maybe studying for some work, and let me give a practical example. Like last semester, I was doing a kind of project that ilikuwa inani require some softwares that sikuwa najua ningepata wapi, or probably I wasn't able to ask from people around also because I didn't know people around. And so niki Google too about this content, and then nikienda kwa, for example, another platform inaniletea something similar because wamesha figure out this person was looking for this thing, alafu analetea. So I was working with a site called Adobe Illustrator, and so nikienda realize the whole of last semester YouTube ilikuwa inaniletea ads za Adobe Illustrator peke yake. This is how you use a gradient. It's like walikuwa wanajua what I was looking for, you know, and kind of that is a good thing because it also lessens the work and the effort that we have to do. And also when it comes to things like also businesses, no, like these people when you wanafanya online businesses, one advantage is that you don't really need a physical like location for your market, but you can have your borrow corner to your social media, Instagram page. This is what I do, and then yes, at some point you may need the nini, but you can start an online business, and in a idea will also just keeping yourself not also dependent on some people, because you get to go out there and do your own thing and become just like some independent, but just ufanye kitu yako. So it helps also. I think majorly for me, my experiences is access of information, and also the time of businesses, and you get, for example, it also has helped ukitaka you don't struggle to probably market yourself, because like of social media, you just know you're targeting these people. Unaweka ka advert inawafikia, unalipa Instagram inawafikia tu haraka. That also helps in building your business.
Okay. Davey?
Yeah. I think social media has given young people a platform to just share their talents with other people. Tumeona the how it has helped watu kina Flaco, people who are comedians, Crazy Kena. I've seen children wenye wame mtu tu amekuja akamrecord akiimba vizuri, and then through that akapata global attention, na aka improve na aka make it in life. So I think for us as young people, it gives us that platform to be able to just share what we love doing, apart from maybe school work. We get to share our talents, our those things that we are really talented in. So social media has given us that platform to share with everybody. Tunasemanga that internet ilifanya the world ikakuwa global village. So content inaweza fikia watu. So yeah, it has helped to better the lives of young people who wengine walikuanga maybe walikuwa wanafanya vitu mbaya and they are not in the right places, but it has given them the opportunity to just express and express themselves. So yeah, I think that is one benefit of social media that that really helps us a lot as young people.
For me, I think the main advantages of social media is integration. If it's so much easier nowadays to buy, to sell, to create identity. Like even on government platforms, registration, all of those things are possible now at the click of a button, and it's thanks to technology that was invented by social media or through social media. It's also made the creative space very dynamic. Like kitambo, one of the main forms of artistic expression was carving, like sculpting and painting. But more and more, one of the most prolific ways of people expressing themselves nowadays is film. And social media is giving people that platform to be creative, to create new art and new ways of self-expression via the tools it offers. So it's changed. Like there are many people who are painting nowadays, but people are not into that anymore. Like people are just buying film and all of those. So it's changed how we view art, what we thought art was. It's creating interesting new perceptions about things we thought we had already discovered. Yes.
Okay. I think also from my point of view is where Gen Z, if you're keen to look at, is ni wale wase, we are just that generation yenye inasoma vitu mingi. Because I might be doing engineering maybe at the university, but on the other side, because of the internet, niko pale nafanya coding, niko pale nafanya another course in sales and procurement. And unapata now for us we are more open to many opportunities because of the sake, because unajua sisi tunatafuta every other thing on the internet. And you know, again, ile yenye tunachoka na kitu moja haraka, it gets us to learn something else also. So tunapata we grow in so many other skills because of just the internet itself. Social media yenyewe inakupush because Flacco umeona amepost content. Ukikamu post, you know, social media kuna hiyo competition. You can't post what Flacco was posting. You can't post what Ken was posting. You can't post what Maverick is posting. So you have to be more innovative. So I think it's caused a generation that is very innovative. Kwanza na mambo ya STEM. And coming up with this story mingi, because like right now wasewa generation, we are not good with reading books but we are good in listening to research and in ziko online. So utapata ule msea ko more informed, like let's say it's a scientific thing. Ameka chini akalan kwa akifika kwa books, sometimes they are not even good because again ukikuwa too much of an addict of social media, kuna hiyo part ya maybe inaku remove attention, it takes away the attention of maybe when you're in school. So if you become too hooked, it takes the attention. But ule mse utapata kona information, anaweza kuambia the evolution of Charles Darwin ilianzia hivi and this is what the scientists are doing right now. Mse anaweza kuja kuchallenge and with something and you're like, well, okay, I did not know this is what is happening currently in history of global warming. The people who are more into it are the Gen Zs, because we've seen it happening. Tumefunzwa it's being bad, so we've gotten more interest into learning about it. So unapata now we have too much information, we become more innovative on now how ways to change things. So I think for me social media imekuwa, for Generation Z, it's just something else that when used rightfully it uplifts a society. But when you use it wrongly, it demoralizes. What is it called? It erodes a society. Again, social media is still the same place whereby we have other vices that are being promoted because it's easy to spread all that information. And then again, it's given us the opportunity to even work. Uko Kenya, but you're working for a US company, so it's given us much exposure. And most of the people that are actually beneficiaries of this are the young people, the Gen Zs. So unapata kuna hiyo exposure mingi, as in they can tell you of states in the US but they have not been in the US. They can even tell you about the streets. Ama mwenye ako US anaweza kuambia streets za Africa and they've not been to Africa. Because of just the aspect of social media. Now maybe just to us from the millennials, what are some of the traits and the Gen Zs have used in matters social media that it's admirable, that mnaona by the hour I say in social media this is something they've harnessed so much that inasaidia? Maybe we start with Brad.
Okay. I think it's something to do. Is it? I think Javi had mentioned it. You guys are risk takers, and with risk taking, for example, when you see a trend, maybe people are running into TikTok, people are running into YouTube. Like for example, during the COVID times, when everyone was running to start a YouTube channel, most of those who are still active and whose account grew are Gen Zs, because you ran out very fast and came up with some easy content. Just as Javi was saying, you were like, how did you even do that? What kind of business are you doing? But you just ran with, for example, something as loyalty test. There are people with some serious following
because of the tea.
It's simply tea. That channel cannot add life onto can add nothing onto your life, but you're just there for entertainment, to listen and to enjoy when people break up. I think that's a good thing, that the fact that someone can start something simple and run with it. The other thing is simply business. For example, I've seen a number of my friends who are even selling something as simple as water bottles on their WhatsApp status. Honey, yes, yourself, by the way.
He sells honey, Kijani honey.
Some of us, by the time we get to selling things on social media, you're like, okay, but you guys are not taking too much time to think about something. We just run with it, and I mean, you hit the road running. And to have seen you're doing better than ourselves. Mnasonga mkisonga, and you're using it to, I mean, that's a good trait. And in the long run, you're making money, and you find some Gen Zs who have a lot of money. Some guys are driving Prado. They're like, what do you do again? Leo test. No, drive Prado. Okay. Yes.
I think Brian has probably said everything, but I think one of the positive uses of social media is just how you also promote each other. Hii ni generation yenye beshte yako ako na birthday unamwanika pale kwa status, which honestly was a very foreign thing. In fact, we used to say in our age, once you get 25, no one celebrates you. Yeah, if you are not celebrated before 25, kufa nayo. Yeah, but this generation, one of the things I've seen that they use social media positively is just celebrating each other. So you just see someone too randomly amepost tu picha ya beshte yake, sema my bro bana, umse my G bana tumetoa nambali, and I think it's a nice thing. You know, there's a principle on Asemanga: criticize in private, but praise in public, or celebrate someone in public. So, which I think is such a beautiful generation ya kugive flowers. You know, it's a nice thing. You also have a way of just putting happiness out there, because the thing about social media here, ikona a lot of negative, or rather not even social media, maybe not social media, traditional media like TV, radio. A lot of the vibe is negative. It's bad news. Yeah, but your generation, I find that you don't necessarily celebrate bad news. It's tumeenda pale Karen Hub, tumebuy pizza, acheni tupige pizza picha wase, tuonyeshe wase bana, life ina happen.
There's still something good in January.
There's still something good in January. Mmeenda to simple car road trip, mkapata na tortoise in a crossroad, wase to celebrate it tortoise bana. Yeah, make bana to celebrate, so you find joy in. Other people might call them mundane things, but life is about mundane things, really. It's the mundane things in life that make life happier. So that whole aspect of celebrating each other, celebrating life, I think it's a beautiful thing in terms of use of social media. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and I also think, like, lastly on that, there are a lot of things you could say, but pia kuna hiyo aspect here. I remember in the generation ya millennials, you needed to have connections for you to do something. Like right now, I don't need someone to kwenda nijipeleke kwa media for me to be seen. I just take my phone, selfie camera, record a video, send, and people can see. And we are moving from it's just touching on your story, a traditional media whereby you just had to. It's only one way through it.
Yeah.
So now we have diversity over it.
Yeah.
And also it's brought upon good relations in matters culture, because we appreciate different peoples and their different cultures because we see what they do.
Yeah.
So I think in as much as we are the loneliest, we are also almost we are like the harmonious generation in accepting different people how they are.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So and with that, tutaingia pale kwa places za work. And maybe I'll start with a question to the Gen Zs. And then we will, after amejibu swali, the millennials will tell us what you're picking up from how they've answered the question on how the Gen Zs respond to it. And one is, maybe I'll ask Praise. I'll start with Praise. Well, some ladies first. So what will you do to motivate you to make a move from your current role? what will you do to motivate you to make a move from your current role? Maybe uko kazi. What does it take for you to make a move from that current role?
Nini inafanya uache kazi?
Uache hiyo kazi uende kwa kitu ingine. Oh.
What me like what would make me first of all, just honestly speaking, would be if maybe I don't have peace there anymore. That would be the major one for me. But also another issue that kind of gets in the way that makes you start thinking of kutoka hapo sasa is probably the small offenses. And I think we are a generation, as tumeongelelea sana, we have not fully guarded our hearts, as the word of God tells us to guard our hearts from all offenses, from out of it, like the issues of life come out of it, and we have not fully guarded our hearts, so we are very you're receptive to offenses. Mtu ameni kanyaga na kuniambia
kidogo, that's a better reason for you to leave.
Nampendukia na we what nini aujaona, as in small offenses that they can make me, and of course that is what can lead to not having peace that your place, and also not being appreciated in a place, not seeing my effort, or probably what I am doing can make me
Okay, so I'll ask Ernest. Millennials mtakuwa mnasikia tu Kenya wanasema, and then now you'll give us an overview of how you rate us from how you view us now from how we do things. So Ernest, how comfortable are you with a traditional office setup? As in,
define traditional.
Traditional ni ile kumenda umepewa kazi in the aspect where, let's say for example the way you do media, and you want to bring your innovativeness and bring your ideas, new things, but your boss ni ule msewa, we have a system that we want to run with. We have to do this as venye inafaa ku run. Before you even say this, have you done this? So because understandably, Generation Z is a bit spontaneous. You want to take risk. So how do you manage that in a place whereby there's that traditional setup? How comfortable are you in such a place?
Okay, let me start by saying that if I was in the army, I would have been court-martialed and executed long ago. Because personally, I have a problem with being given direct orders without an explanation. Like, I like seeing the big picture. Like, I don't like being a cog in a machine. Like, I want to understand the thinking behind why I am doing what I am doing. So it's always very problematic for me to be in a place where like this information is controlled like on a need to know basis, and most traditional office setups work like that. You're not given the autonomy to think on your own and make independent decisions because you're hooked up to a machine. So like it's a small part of the bigger process, and if you're not given an overview of what you're doing and how you can better that process, it becomes very difficult. So if I have an open-minded boss who knows how to work with young people, that is never a problem, because like when someone lets you like make your process efficient or do your things, it's never a problem. But like I think the major issue is just having someone who has the patience to explain to you what is going on and give you the leeway to test new things and fail and understand why certain procedures and protocols are in place and not other things. Yeah.
Okay. Sawa. Thank you. Devi, how well do you work? Do you work best in a team or in alone, or which one do you prefer to do and why?
I hate working alone.
You don't feel constrained. You don't feel constrained. Like when you're working with people, unajuanga kuna kwanga na high flyers na wale watu wa kudragiwa.
Yeah.
Kama mnafanya assignment,
Yeah.
hakuji group discussion,
ana-
hafanyi
anataka
anything.
marks,
Anataka
presentation,
marks za
anawa let
free.
down.
Anawa let down.
I miss sijai kuwa mse wa kuwork peke yangu.
Eh.
Because I'm a team person. I'm a person who likes to work with people. Like napenda when somebody else has an idea and I also have an idea, and we bring that idea together, and we try to figure out what's best. But sometimes it can be tough working in a team, especially in a Gen Zs, because hadi ukiwa shule ile time ulikuwa unaambiwa mkae kwa groups. Hizo groups, there was no discussion that took place in those groups. Ilikuwa tu ma story. Ukisikia tu umeenda kwa group, watu wanajuanga sawa. Lesson imeshaisha. Yeah, so it's sometimes it's very difficult to work with Gen Zs, but personally I don't prefer working alone. I prefer working in with a team, with many people. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sawa. So we can hear now from the millennials, from how you've had the Gen Z's answer. So how do you understand their work, their workflow? How do they do their work, and how?
It's about to go down. No, I think the first one is, unlike us, Gen Zs look beyond the money they are making from a company or from a job. Sisi ilikuwa zile za watu wanakulipa ngapi? 120,000. Twende sana. And then ukiingia kwa hiyo job ndio unapata wamekuambia unafanya kazi from 8 to 5, but the expectations, they make you sleep at 12. And you still continue unangangana, the pressure is up there, but bado unangangana. But you are the guys who are thinking of I'm looking at the work environment, who am I working with, sijui work culture, workplace culture.
Before ufike umejua kwanza unapewa kazi gani.
Yes, you already know what you are going to do. You guys stick so much onto your JD. You know the information.
Hakuna kupewa kazi.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's not part of my JD. It's not highly
proportional to money.
Yes. No, I'm not paid to do that. So, nyinyi mko zile za for you there should be a bigger value beyond money. I think that's something I've seen with Gen Zs. Now, on the other side, you guys are lazy. I won't sugarcoat it, because you see you're used to quick fixes. So when it comes to something that you have to think beyond, or for example, something that makes you the solution is not available online. For example, you ask to write an email to a certain client, or to an introduction email to a certain client, and now you have to Google that. Kama haiko online, your email utaambiwa, I'm working on it. Like, I mean, we are talking of 10 sentences. Can't you just sit down and work on 10 sentences?
Ironically, unajua kwa research, they've termed Gen Z as the most hardworking.
Yeah.
But it's also ironical how it is, Jubado, they are also the laziest. So I think the hardworking, it depends on what scope you're looking at it. On the hardworking, dependent on the Gen Z's way of thinking.
So actually now I was coming to, you guys are the kind of people who are so much onto what you're passionate about. And like us who are bora kazi. Sasa nyinyi mko kwa kazi bora. Like it has to be, I have to be passionate about. If something you're passionate about, you guys can work up to midnight. You can sit down there working. And that's why we have, for example, the best coders. They're Gen Zs. Huyo mtu kaa anapenda coding, anaweza keti hapo akifanyia kazi code for 18 hours a day. Hajaamka, anaamka, anaenda anakunywa maji, anarudi hapo anafikiria. So if it's something you're not passionate about, nyinyi hamuna, you don't have the patience to even sit down there and try. Because you see, the other thing that comes out with, for example, pushing and trying, is you get experience, and that's why you will find most of workplaces ask for experience. I mean, they know you, maybe for example you went to school ukasoma zile vitu, but they know the real thing is on the doing. For example, if you think about driving, there's no driving school that teaches people to drive at night. There's no driving school that will teach people to drive on a highway when it's raining. Yes, or a muddy road. Like those are things you have to learn on the job. Like you have to drive ndio ujue oh drive lazima niwashe fog lights ndio nionekane, and when it's raining ndio nionekane na gari yenye iko nyuma yangu, you know. At night nitachomwa macho na magari zingine. I mean, we don't have patana na gari ya petans saa 4 ya usiku ati tuna drive at being taught how to drive at night. So that's something I think that you're denying yourselves, because you have very many options and you want quick fixes. You don't want to push yourself harder, more so kama sio kitu yenye haupendi sana. And that's why now we are talking of even not doing things above your JD.
Laziness sometimes is not a bad thing, because lazy people are very efficient. They find the easiest
way,
fastest, and the road with the least amount of trouble, like the least amount of drawbacks. And that is very good if you want work done well. So sometimes getting a lazy person only works when the deadline is close. Is very good, because they'll give you stellar results but have put in half the work.
But sometimes you might not get the depth that, for example, task needs, because maybe, for example, you needed to research to do.
But you know, most jobs are not, unless you're doing engineering where you're pushing the frontiers. Most jobs are paper pushing. Like you are doing the same thing over and over with a few differences ni kidogo. So like you can automate how you work very easily. Like if you go to let's look at what industry, with the exception of maybe accounting. Accounting can be challenging kidogo, but let's look at maybe people who work in management. Like once you establish a system, that's it. Like the challenges you're going to meet at that job are limited by the scope of work. If you work at media, like hata uangalia the most challenging work environments kama maybe you work at Citizen or something. Once you establish a system for working, there are very few iterations where you meet a challenge you've not met before. So it becomes, it becomes routine.
Yes, which is a good thing after you've known that we have challenges A to Q. But you guys meet with challenge A and B. You are not ready to meet challenge C.
Maybe the ones I know, because I know like most people, when people my age, when they start working, the first thing to do is to scope out all the challenges in that job, and then find the easiest way that curtails all of those challenges. So they work very few hours with no pressure.
But all said and done, honest, I can promise you, there are things you can't anticipate. You have to be inside it. Ndio ujue. Like for example, if we were to talk about marriage right now, I'm sure if we were asked to go write a paper of how a marriage should work, let me tell you, we would do a good paper. Until we get married, you're like, until now you get to the doing it. There's something about doing things.
Married people will write a bad paper.
Yes.
We are living it.
Yes, so I feel because you're very informed people. Sometimes you mistake information for exposure, which is not. Yes.
Information, knowledge doesn't replace experience.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Mimi kwa maoni yangu. Yeah. Just a couple of things I was thinking about when you asked about work, and I'm going to contrast some things that just my observations, and so there is passion, which this is the one thing I love about Gen Z, is that they are really keen on passion. Even vile wanachagua courses wakienda shule, wako very keen, yeah. And sisi tulikuwa tunatoka kufanya anthropology, sijui archaeology, umeenda shule, so long as on campus. Yeah, but you guys have the ability to have candid conversations with your parents and say, Dad, sincerely, ule kazini yetu mlimwambia ende afanye sijui nini huko US ako wapi sahi, you know. And even parents, and you're engaging parents to even, I mean, think outside the box of traditional careers, which is a nice thing. The fact that you're able to match your gifts and your passion, and you try and look for courses and work that relates to that, because honestly in the long run it will pay off. Our method ya millennials ni cause first this whole personality conversations zimekuja juzi, tulikuwa tusha make mistakes, it was too late. There is nothing I can do about changing that thing. Okay, I can do a few things, but I've already lost time. But you guys now have such good information, you can start making the right choices at a very early stage, which is an amazing thing. Now, but now kuna kitu inaitwanga kuna passion, which is a beautiful thing, but there is reality kwa ground. Yeah, passion, huwezi karanga passion ukule. You know, you might be passionate about music, and I've seen this debate in musician circles, where a musician is passionate about music and them they claim they won't do any other work, them they'll just follow their passion. Full-time musician. Then this is what happens. You find that the market is not ready to pay for your passion. That's the reality. Because qua ground, you have to match what you are passionate about vis-a-vis what is the market offering. Huwezi enda kuuza inaitwaje omena Nyeri. Hakuna market ya omena Nyeri, roho safi. So no matter how good of an omena farmer you are, you cannot ignore the fact that in Nyeri they don't eat omena. That's the truth. So there has to be a balance between passion, but also don't just study it, because when you're looking at passion, you're looking at internally, what am I good at? But it's also important to look at what is the market willing to pay for, because at the end of the day, when it comes to business, career, it's what the customer is willing to pay for. You might be the best painter, but if your market doesn't appreciate painting, utabaki hapo na painting yako. You might be the best musician, but if people are okay with embarambamba, utabaki hapo na arrangements zako na manoma. That's just it's the truth. In fact, it's so funny because I'm a musician myself. The best musicians in terms of musical arrangement and expertise are not necessarily the richest musicians. The richest musicians are the ones who've just studied. Kenyan people just like simple chords na lyrics, simple lyrics.
And
some controversial life. You give them that and they are fine. So there has to be a balance between, okay, I'm passionate about this, but in reality, how much money will it bring on the table when I need to pay bills? And I think God is so fair, He gave all of us more than 2 talents, that's for sure. And then mimi nimekuja kuona in life, kuna passion yenye ikupatiangi dunia kuserve watu. You know, if you are good at cooking chapos might never make you a millionaire, but they might be able to help you serve the community, your family, your chama, you know, like social circles. And then there's something else God anakuwaga amekupatia, hii ni ya kumake do. It might not be the most exciting thing you do 8 to 5, but you can make money with it. So there's that. Then kuna this whole thing of rights. I love that Jay-Z are standing up for their rights. Like the way you said you'd quit. Bray said she would quit because hakuna peace. I think it's a beautiful thing. If anything, millennials behind the scenes are behind you guys. Please champion them, champions. Sisi tulilemewa kuchampionia vitu bana. Champion hizi vitu, because you know when you do so, you know, if Gen Zs are in an organization and so many of them are quitting because it's toxic, you know, the leaders wanakaa chini wanaanza kujiuliza maswali, and in the end you start causing change. So it's so appreciated, the fact that you're actually able to say, no, this is not right, no, this is toxic. You know, those conversations are good because they're not just benefiting your generation, they're benefiting generation yenye tumelemewa, tumekaliwa, tulishindwa kuongea. So it's a good thing. But you also have to balance that against something called teamwork. You see, the Bryce, you said you won't do anything outside your JD. Again, the struggle sometimes I see with Gen Zs is they can be very selfish. If it's not working for me, it's not working for me. But life is not like that. Life is connected. You know, what you do affects someone else. So let's say you quit your job and your mama ndio alikuwa nakutegemea, hiyo ndio una make ndio itakuja kutusort Jumathe ameakwa overwhelmed na responsibilities. I think it would be so selfish to make that decision just based on what you feel as a person. I think it's important to look at, okay, and yeah, this job environment is toxic, or I don't have peace, so it's not perfect. But if I quit, what are the implications? How is it going to affect other people around me? Yeah, are you able to just be hold on kidogo just because if it's helping Mother sort out a few things, then I can hang in there until Mother is okay. But now if you quit and then you and your mama in the house together, but Mother ajui kitu inaitwa depression. When you utazama Mother I'm depressed, Mother anashindwa you're depressed sababu uliacha kazi, we are broke. You're calling it depression, hatuna pesa. That is the problem. The problem is not depression. Tuko na njaa. So yeah, I think that's an important thing to consider, even when you're fighting for your rights and you want to quit because it's toxic. It's important just to balance that any decision you make as a person affects so many people around you. If you decide, Mdosi amesema leo, let's put in 1 extra hour or 2 extra hours, and you decide, I signed 8 to 5, there's another team member that is going to suffer. Yeah? And you know what goes around comes around. The Bible says, do unto others what you'd like to be done to yourself. So sometimes it's not always good to just look at rights. Also look at, okay, this extra thing I'm doing, is it going to impact the community? Is it going to make life better for someone else? So that we don't just think about ourselves. And then the other thing now, maybe my last one is mastery versus diversity. So you said something, John. The thing about Jay-Z is you have so much information, so you try so many things at the same time. Today you're on Instagram doing a live video. Tomorrow you're showing us, cheap dresses in Gikomba. The next day you're showing us how to cook mandazis over jiko. Unatupatianga new content. Hatujuangi we ni nani. Kila siku unatuangushianga content. Jack of all trades, Joat. It's called Joat Enterprises. So it's a good thing, but it has to be seasonal. Haiwezi kuwa hiyo ndio itadefine the rest of your life. At some point, as you're trying to all those things, you have to have at the back of your mind that at some point I need to narrow down to one. So you're not trying for the sake of trying. You're trying for the sake of elimination method. You're trying for the sake of this one doesn't work. This one, and then the one that seems to work, you stick on it, because I think the challenge of the Gen Z generation is they can be good at many things but they don't master. So unapata kwanza time ya COVID, so walianzisha content pale Instagram. Everyone was doing something live, and I wish some of them just stuck, because I was one of the people who used to celebrate and even advertise or market for them, and then they gave up. I'm like, you had such a good thing going. How did you just give up like that? Like, if you just stuck on this path, na ukiangalia nini ingine anafanya, it's another new thing. It's a generation of new things. You're like, okay, I think there was something working back there. If you just went back there and just built on it, something was building here. So it's important, much as, because the truth is, John, where we are going in terms of career, it will require people to be multi-skilled. Yeah. That's the truth. That thing you were saying at you're a baker with IT experience. Coding experience na umesoma utalii. It's true. But I don't think it's going to mean that you're going to be a doctor in the morning and a NASA scientist in the evening. I don't think itakuwa those extremes. I think either way, even if you need to master 2 or 3 things, they need to find a place of congruence or complementing each other. So it's beautiful, but you can't be a jack of 68 trades. 2-3 trades is fine. And then out of those 3, there is one that now it takes you the chunk of your time. And lastly, you will never replace experience with knowledge. Google will give you information, but it will not work with you. That's the truth. Google haita kuambia yani the real. Alafu Google haikuangi contextual. Unaweza Google kitu yenye iliwork Mexico, but I work Kenya. So I think much as there is access to information, there needs to be a balance between real human. Dad, ulijenga nyumba aje? Ama hii business ulifanya aje? Yani ukwe na real life experiences, yeah. So that's yeah.
Thank you. I think vitu to capture more on about the Gen Zers, maybe just to touch across. On the first thing is the Gen Zers, it's a competitive generation, because nataka kucompete na content yenye nimeona nani anafanya ni compete na yeye. So when it comes to workplaces, in as much as the other trait is they love working in teams, because to make things easier and then ile nisikwe ni mimi nina take blame peke yangu.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's that aspect of competitiveness inakuja sasa wakati nataka mimi ni shine. So like in other workplaces unapata now msee ana compete with the fellow employee. It's not about bringing the solution, it's about who's working best. And then there's also the aspect of we are that generation that has justification of everything that we do. Hautaki kuambiwa if nimefanya hivi, I have a reason why I did this, and we forgo the aspect of what you guys were saying, the experience. Someone has been there, so they know when you do this probably utaangukia hapo mbele. But because I know nimeifanya jua nimefanya hii na hii na hii, we get too much of justification from the Gen Zers. And then there's also the aspect of technology. At the workplaces unapata now, it becomes a hindrance. It becomes a hindrance whereby if there's no technology, a Gen Z will not be able to work. Kama si tech sijui
Kama
kwa
hakuna computer
kama hakuna sijui kwa because we are those quick fixes people. Clean unavokuja na ile vacuum cleaner ukuje na mna comp ni code nitengeneze robot inaweza clean, unajua.
By the way, imagine a modern accountant trying to do accounting with ile kitabu ya kitambo, ile spreadsheet without Excel.
Yeah.
The other day I was in my niece's school. Nikaenda kuuliza about records. Wananitolea vitabu bana, records za 2017 2016 unaangalia kwa kitabu bana.
Ulichoka hata before waanze
kulichoka.
So I think that's a major characteristic tumeona from the Gen Zers, that if there's no technology they cannot work better in the traditional ways of. Because in like for the millennials before you introduced technology, you guys were used to working in
paper and calculator.
Pen and paper. But sasa yetu kipo pen and paper, it looks as if ile unaulizwa 5 + 5 you have to go to the calculator. And then the aspect of emotions. This is that generation yenye inaongozwa na emotions. Venye na feel, nikienda job workplace and then msee aniongeleshe vibaya. That's a reason for me to quit that job.
Kazi imeisha hivyo.
I'm not to perform that thing.
Not to perform because ameniongelesha vibaya. And I think that's something that we really need to work on. But also the other thing is, this is a generation of quick fixes, whereby ukiuko na kashida unataka kupata a quick solution, just take to a Gen Z at the workplace. Atakusort in a few. Jona amekaa chini akafikiria what Anes was saying. Kuna hizi problems zote, but hizi problems zote naweza zitoa na nini ndio nikuelezi. You know, nikwe na time ya kuingia Instagram ya kufanya nini. So there are those people who give quick fixes, so that's their stronghold.
Well, this is not my story to tell, but my cousin lost a very nice job because of that. Na ilikuwa at a private company ya Mhindi. So amekuja tumefanya naye Python, ameenda automate workflow. Afanye kazi haraka ndio afanye vitu zake na simu. So unajua Mhindi si mtu kupenda mtu kwa idol. So unapata amemaliza kazi yake na muongezea kazi ya mtu mwingine. Yaani tu akai tu. So hiyo story kamkasirisha wakaleta najua kaacha job.
Kuna hiyo. And then there's also other aspect of there are people ni wale watu wako structured. If you give me work, I want to work on the JD. I don't want to work further unless it's about my passion, or unless you are doing something else. We are those people they wanna lock akili sana. We lock akili ukinipea kazi nyingine it's beyond, unless now una relate na yeye vizuri. Remember I said the Gen Zers we are emotional characters, unless now una relate na yeye vizuri anaweza kufanyia the extra work. But if you don't, whatever you said,
that's the secret.
That's the secret.
Touch their heart. Love their work.
As long as umemtreat tu vizuri, that's the thing.
My feelings
zisotiwe tu kwanza. Unaona hiyo ndio ina cause bado hiyo story ya depression, because nimekama ukani hurt, I'll work just to give you the JD. But deep down, remember we said we are not those people who kuongea. I'll go post on status.
True.
So itakuwa ina mahart. So that's how depression comes along. And then kuna hiyo yenye you just said of us being the seasonal beings, as in we are not ready to do a mastery in something. I just want to do it for this specific period, and then nikiweza I move to something else. So I don't have the mastery, so we tire easily because nimeifanya ikifika place ya kubo because I like I need something new. And imekubo in 1 year ama 3 months.
Unajua, we've grown up in a place where especially the technology that drives our lives changes very fast. And technology ilifika ile point where it doesn't have to be working to be changed. Like it can be working but you still want to change it. Like you realize you change your phone even before it starts dying. Umeboeka tu nayo, si ati imeacha kufanya kazi, si ati ipigi, si ati iko na issues ama any mechanical failure. And that always having new stuff is what is giving us that, like nimefanya kitu ni kama you feel like you've conquered it ama you've used it so much, you just want to change. Ndio ina lead hapo tunataka kuchange kila wakati.
Yeah, and I think the other thing ni for the Gen Z, if nile Gen Zers, they are very strong in kama sema for example amekupea this is a solution to this specific problem that you're bringing to me, and then we've repeatedly said it to you and you don't take our idea, ama you take in what we are giving, they are very easy to block. Sasa wewe si nimekupea solutions, but hautaki kutumia solutions zangu. Let's use your method to fail. so that nikuje nikuonyeshe whatever I was saying is what was right. So I think your generation you that's the thing. So unless now you learn how to interact with them, wacha to fail because tunakumbuka ile story ya competitiveness, competition. I want to show you umetaka kunionyesha mimi opinion yangu haiwezi work, wacha nikuonyeshe wewe ndio utaanguka, and they will do everything to see that project go down. So I think manze niliwaambia easy conversations sisi ni wale wase wa kuongea sana. So
swali moja moto nilikuwa ndani ya kumalizia kufunga
so kuna swali ya relations, unajua sisi ni wale watu tunakatiana na Instagram DMs, and then we live a fantasy of love through Instagram. So nina date mse na Instagram, o mimi kwenda kumwambia feelings zangu tukiwa person to person I can't say. Lakini naweza tumia WhatsApp kumwambia.
Tinder swing.
So maybe from experience yako praise. In how probably I'm just presuming that umekuwa approached by guys from the millennial side and from the Gen Z
side of
unakata 27 sio ni wa baba
26 kwenda juu, at least around ni 30 hapo,
30 to 35 hapo.
Yes. So how has been your experience when you wanakukatia huyo boy wa the millennial, how do they approach and how does a Gen Z approach?
Comparison. This is a comparison video.
Wacha nianze na Gen Z. So Gen Z, hey, they're very funny. You know,
shots fired. Shots fired.
You know, first of all, we don't need each other's numbers to get to know each other. Bora tu nimekuona, and then probably I get to know your name, and then I can go. Of course, internet has everything, so Instagram, napata DP yako, bas, easy work done.
Ama natafuta mutual friend,
alafu amekufollow, very easy. That is very easy to get. And so kidogo ndio unaanza anaanza kuku reels nini ama let me give you a personal example. WhatsApp. So you know sorry but this is Gen Z. So you know okay I sing in church. Sasa huyu amekuja oh god. Okay. So unakuja unaanza kunitumia by the way this song would look nice on you, you know, ukimba. Na feeling is
Kimba, itapika the places, the holy of holies.
Ini itafika ina quotes, you know.
Ikilidio tu na wewe. It suits you.
I know. so and also kwa wale wanachukua numbers, you know, they don't even have to talk to you. Wanataka tu status. Nikiona status yako nimesha kujua, you know nini. Alafu another thing, for as long as nimekuita babe, nimekuita sweet for like 2-3 alafu
na hujakata ni hivyo you're the one.
Unakubali.
Hakuna
umejipa.
You know, actually there's a friend of mine alikuwa anaambia she was breaking up with her boyfriend. Alafu so yeye ananiambia yeye on her like in her records anajua they've dated for 2 years. But the guy knows they've dated for 3 years. Why? Because nile nimekuwa nikikuita babe. I know we've been dating for 3 years. No, auko yes, the girl wanted ile day like do you until you ask me will you be my girlfriend or probably not. They don't ask, they just come. I'm like nimekuona vibe, you know, our vibe imejipa. Yeah, I know vibe
Generation is where we have the what are we.
yes exactly.
What
So
are
what are
we?
we or probably exactly
To relate.
so exactly mmeanza kuongea hivyo vizuri and then you've not even opened, you know, the feeling is
of
mutual.
God.
So you don't, I text you every day. If I text you good morning, good night, I mean it should already speak to you, I mean what I want here. So and then inafikanga ikiumana what are we, I mean because I've been here, I think you have seen me, I mean I've been here. So they don't ask. And also this another time I experienced this one, I was shocked. Nilikuwa tumetoka high school, very young, mingia campus. I was very okay. I'm innocent. I'm still
innocent.
So
innocent but exposed.
Yeah. So this movie anakuja, alafu they're like okay, ananibaya. Okay, you know, buy a drinks, you know, hey, you know, so to the basic things, can I get to know you, okay, nini. So alafu tukiongea and then you know when you tumesema you're open, they speak you speak your mind. So mimi nimekuja nikamuuliza, so what do you want? You know, they just give you direct answers like I don't want a relationship but I'm here for this, I just want this. I'm not here for a relationship. I was shocked. I was like, you know, the way tumefunzwa tumedanganya like no tunamwanga. Okay, you say at least you have a boyfriend. Okay, mwambia me I have a boyfriend so usinikatie. You know what they told me? So mimi nikampelekea lance yangu ya me I have a boyfriend, I'm not interested. Kambia alicheka, very sarcastic laugh. I was like, then you don't know the market. Oh, jui. Ka kidogo tutakuonyesha. Ni Nairobi.
Huyo mwingine na huyo mwingine. We share
and it's okay to
it's
share.
It's a big market.
And that's very, so they're very funny. And most of the greatest problem I'm having is that you assume someone, like they don't ask you, can you be, for example, my girlfriend? For me, in my case, I would appreciate that, you know. We've been talking, I mean, like you ask me, can you? If I tell you yes or no, good. But sasa au wengine tu hivyo tumevibe wiki 2-3 boom. So our papas, the millennials, okay. Honestly speaking, but I think they are more decent. I'm looking for the right word to use. It's polished.
Juu wako na pesa.
Exactly.
Juu wako na pesa pia ati.
Sisi, like we are more of the I send you like Instagram reels, you know, tuna vibe me na kutumia, you know, that is our communication. And for them, like, hey, can I get to know you and maybe we can meet on Saturday and talk, you know, as in they're very, you know, una feel vizuri ukikuwa approached by them because they like they talk to you in a nice way, like, do you want us to meet? And for example, for those of us whose love languages are more of the physical time and the quality time, so they're like, can we meet? Can we talk? Can we? Very sweet.
Quality time is one of the
hakuna kitu kama hiyo.
But as I encounter Papa Wengi majorly because, and they're also, of course, across they use the money issue, the money thing. Can I talk by a credit level, so we can talk, and also they, those are the major ones. I think zimekuwa highlights kwangu. There are differences, but I also wouldn't say that the Gen Z is also bad in a way. Kuna wale two breed that they know what they want and they know how to come about like with this thing.
Which unfortunately are not the majority.
But we are still there.
Sadly,
We are
they
still
not
there.
Sadly, they're not the majority. The ones who still talk of like good dates, mnaenda just a good place. Si lazima the bash and fest. You can just meet and talk over something. Yeah.
Sawa, honest. Ideally, as a Gen Z, how do you view like relationship between like where you approach a dem? How madem wa Gen Z? How do they come along? How do they react? And how is it?
I'm probably the wrong person to be asking that question. And I don't know. I'm still. I like what we have as a generation, but I'm still old-fashioned. Maybe it's because of how I grew up. I was a bit precocious as a child. Yani, nilikuwa nafanya tu zile vitu wazee wanafanyanga, si watoto wanafanyanga.
Mtoto mzee.
I got introduced to reading books very early, so hizo vitu tu. So I have always liked conversations. I've always loved people with depth, and increasingly in Gen Z, because of how fickle we are, wasichana wengi wako na mchezo. Wako tu hapo, you ask someone something and it ends the conversation. This time I met some girl. Alikuwa anaitwa nani? Sawa. Yeah, I met her a few years before COVID. Nakumbukanga vizuri sana before COVID. Her girl was very pretty. So we talked. Like when you go to some place and then you notice someone noticing you and they notice you notice them. And then you're like, ching ching.
Ile movie tunafaa kwa tusha connect
so we locked eyes and I was like, this is a person I can talk to. And me if I notice I can talk to you, I get out of my cocoon. So ilikuwa social event, nikaenda nikatafuta, nikakuja na soda mbili, nikampea moja. Tukaanza kuongea, nikamwambia jina. Tukaongea, vibe kashika. And then like me kwanza najuanga vibe imejipa, kama ni amenitisha namba, nikaitishwa namba. Success. So we started the back and forth, the whole conversation thing. Then sasa nikaisha sasa maneno, unajua venye knowing a new person is very tiring. You get to pass sasa colors, sijui nini, sijui favorite show, sijui what you think about this movie. Sasa ikaanza kuwa deep things, like and generated from a certain dystopian movie. Because it explores dystopian ni kama zile movies za sci-fi zenye zinakuanga na a grim future. So the movie we were talking about is
what does that mean in English?
as in yani ni movie tu kuna katu yani future tumeendelea as a society technologically but tumedegrade socially.
Alright.
Okay, that's an easier way to put it. And so like the movie we're talking about is Blade Runner 2049. I don't know if any of you have watched that movie. So like it has a very like it talks about things that we are seeing now but are more advanced in the future, like how people are very lonely and they try to replace those pleasures with technology. And I asked her a question and she was unable to answer the question. And you know me, when you're unable to answer a question, I don't like the answer I don't know, because such open-ended questions don't have a right or wrong answer. They just ask you to think.
Yeah.
Sasa nikaanza kuona red flags.
There's no one to think.
Najua na yeye ajui, it's a bad thing.
Yeah, so like you know like
Father Lord, what happened to kindness?
you know
Out the window.
and increasingly that has been a major hallmark ya wasichana wa Gen Z. Wanapenda short and sweet, yani vibe tu, vibes and inshallah. Hakuna siku tutaongelea serious issue. Unauliza mtu what they think about the current political scene, mtu anasema tu mimi najua tu Raila alichezwa. Like like I think we choose to be like, the world is so, I think we fear the world so much that we choose to be blind to it. And Gen Zs are so scared of what the world is that we fabricate our own story of what the world can be, instead of now talking about that world and actively seeking to change it. So for me, yeah. But hizo stories zisiwashtue. Me, I'm in a good place dating wise.
You're dating.
Dating wise, me, I'm in a good place. Msishtuke. That was in the past.
Devi, rudi hapo kwako. In matters dating and relationship, ile generation ya wamesema vibes and inshallah. So as a dude, umeenda reach out and they just want to have the vibes and inshallah, but they don't want to probably junile pia conversation tunahepanga the hard conversations.
Yeah.
So how has it been as a Gen Z in matters relating with girls and getting into relationships?
Yeah, I think it's very difficult because as you've said, people are just there for the moment. Kwanza wanaulizanga ile swali, what do you bring to the table? Those are the kind of questions that they ask, and for relationships these days, relationships are zimekuwa redefined. Like it's now only about pleasure and joy and fun and all that, and nobody wants to. The moment something goes wrong, mnachana. So relationship wise, I think that's something that as Gen Zs we should work on. I think we should know that relationships is more than about fun and kujivinjari. It's about communicating. It's about talking. It's about getting each other's opinions about life. Vile tu Ernest amesema, like ukiuliza mtu swali isikue I don't know. Just be honest. There's no right or wrong answer. So I think as Gen Zs tunafaa tutoe mentality yetu from that point of just pleasure and fun na kuenda mapati, mabash and all that, and we should know that relationships are much more. They're much more. Yeah.
Okay. I think now we can go to the millennials. Probably as we wrap up. Probably maybe you've interacted with, I don't know, Brian. Maybe you interacted with a few. Maybe you have seen a few interacting. So how has it been, and what do you think is like that major thing yenye iko na cause the red flags upon the Gen Zers matters of relationship?
Sasa unajua nimesikia tumeitwa wa babas.
Wazais.
I think for me, nothing very far from what Ernest has talked about. I'm also a person who loves people with depth. Let's not just have some easy light conversation. Let's get deep into a conversation. And so kuna mtu anaitangwa Benjamin Zulu anasemanga a girl below 25 years, run away. She has some growing up to do. But I don't think I have interacted with a Gen Z in my boy-girl relationship. I don't think I have interacted. But generally now, maybe I'd say as friends, yes, there is that. Sometimes you find disconnect in terms of the depth of knowledge. So maybe you only want to talk of a road trip you went to, when you went to the coast. Like you just want to talk about the good times and happy, and just as you're saying it, I mean, good vibes. Like we need to get the depth. I mean, let's talk about ugly things in life. I mean, let's talk about the Nepal airplane that had an accident the other day. I mean, that crashed the other day. Let's get to talk about serious and real things in life. Maybe actually for the longest for me, I liked ladies who love Twitter, because I knew there's some depth. It just came out as something with depth. And also someone who's not so flashy, who's going out there to... who are not very showy. I mean, there's more in life beyond, just as Devi has put it, there is more in life beyond the good times and inshallah.
Yeah.
So I don't think I have interacted with a Gen Z on that line, vizuri, to have formed a very good perspective about them. Yes.
So I'll go to Jab.
To wrap up,
Yeah, to wrap up, probably you've interacted as a youth pastor. You've seen, you oversee these people. So you've seen. So how would you term the relationships, and what have you seen in the Gen Zers?
machali wako down. Machali wa Gen Z wanahitaji mentorship.
Wow.
Wanahitaji
Shots fired.
Wanahitaji mentorship. I think wanapenda kampani ya madem. These guys are confident in everything else. Wako na confidence ya content, kazi, but just having a conversation with a girl. Umwambie tu kitu simple, I like you. Wanaenda huko kwa fence. Mwende umwite plot huku. As in, so I think that's the observation. And I think by the way, with all these generational differences, the one thing that me niko convinced haijawai change na haitai change is something Solomon says. One of the 7 things that fascinating is the way of a man with a young woman. Kukatia mazee haitai change. Hiyo kitu inakuwaga as traditional as it gets. Every girl still wants attention. Every girl still wants clarity. Every girl wants exclusion. That's the truth. At some point, hata ukikuwa nao mabeshte wengi madem, dem anamlike andaka at some point hii kitu iko exclusive. Isikwe tukienda plot lazima tuende na rende.
But kidogo hii generation, they are not more of the chest after, they want to be
boys.
Madem. Unapata there's a higher rise of madem wale ndio wanakuja sasa kusema mimi.
And you know why? It's because I think science has shown that anytime you see a woman quote unquote do a man's role, just know some man somewhere has failed the job. The reality is the as we are evolving, women have also evolved. They are stronger, they are more confident, they are more aware. You know, they are not like their mothers. They are bolder. And now but even though unasematia hao mademo na approach machali, I'm sure Praise anaweza confirm, it's still an outlier. Hata times zetu kulikuwa nao mademo walikuwa nayo confidence. Hiyo group bado ni group kidogo. Maybe the difference si wasahi wanakuambia huko kwa status, lakini kukuambia one on one. Yeah, I think it's still, I think most I mean, I think the way of kukatiana haija change much yet. And I think, and you see that I think that the unfortunate thing about the generation we're living in right now is that we depend on opinions and comments more than data. Just because one influencer went out on Instagram and said the way ndio alikatia chali, everyone thinks that all the girls do that, or that is the way of life. But ukiangalia data, na mimi usema data, it doesn't have to be scientific. In your circles, uko na mademo 5. that is already good research data. Uliza tu all the 5. Well, ushai approach Charlie. Now that is data. That is good data. If 4 out of the 5 girls washai approach Charlie, then now you can start saying, mademu may change. But if 4 out of them waseme, mimi siwezi fanya kitu kayo, just no, nothing has changed. Wewe influencer alikuwa tuna porojo huko nje tu, yeah. So the easiest way to find out if something has changed or not is just ask two in your circles. You'll always find in your circle this thing that influencers have convinced that madem siku hizo wamekuwa confident, wanakatia machali, huo ni msee tu. That's mtu amekuwa na bad heartbreak anajaribu kujiconsole. But the reality is, I think the Gen Z guys, they are confident in very many things, but I think they are timid when it comes to approaching a girl and just telling them I like you. Hiyo tu. Na sasa hiyo kitu
wanataka kubaki kwa the keyboard warriors.
Wanataka kubaki kwa keyboard warriors na huko kwa fence tu. Yeah. And so I think it's one of, that's my observation. You know kama Charlie anakuambia kama story mingi, sure. Very long story. It was not that difficult. In fact, I remember as a millennial, it was as simple as huko unaanza tu na I like you. Hiyo tu already ushasema kitu. Ama I like your company. As in at least the word like ilikuwa a good word.
Some leading one.
Some leading one. Vile praise anasema unaanza na buy na sweet na ati sweetheart. Like uko umeenda sana. Hiyo inakuwa na process bana. I like you, alafu una build. Yeah, so
and actually these are the people who have spoiled the meaning of the words pay and see. Don't just call anyone love. Yeah, babe.
So yeah, it was a hot conversation for today. Just discussing on just the relations of the Gen Zers in relationship, workplace, and just relating with one another. And I think to make capture kuna hiyo gap between you approaching maybe how relationship, boy girl relationship has been defined, and the process of how it's supposed to be, quote unquote, for lack of a better word. And we are glad you joined us, and we hope that you enjoyed the episode on the Gen Zers conversation. And you can leave your comments, you can leave your voice note as well. Also share your ideas, share your opinion. Let's get to learn about each other, because as the Bible says, as iron sharpens iron, so does a man to the other. And that's why we had this conversation between two generations, to see how we interact together. So stay hooked for the next conversation. I think the next conversation will be on now these different generations that we've discussed. How are they relating with also the current generation that is upcoming? The Gen Z, Gen Alpha. How is Gen Alpha relating with Gen Z? How is Gen Z, millennials relating with Gen Alpha? And how is just the synergy between all the three generations? Because those are the current generations that we actually have right now. So it's been your favorite podcast, the Chat Away podcast. And from us, it's a goodbye. Kwaheri.
Bye.